We call the Metropolis City Council to order Monday, September the 26th, 2016. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
McManus. Mizell.
Here.
Short.
Here.
Thank you.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, we come tonight thanking you for all you do for us. Be with our community, dear Heavenly Father, for the ones that have lost loved ones. Be with the families. Dear Heavenly Father, be with the families of the sick. Not only be with the sick, but be with the caregivers. Be with our nation, dear Heavenly Father. Be with our armed service personnel, not only on the foreign ground, but here in the United States. Guide and direct their lives. Bring them safely home to their families. We pray, dear Heavenly Father, that each decision we make here tonight will be for the betterment of the community. We ask in thy precious name. Amen. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the 9/12/16. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
First item, citizens' request. Next item, mayor's report. Announcement of cleanup weeks for the residents of the city of Metropolis, weeks of October the 17th and the 24th. That will be a 2-week run there. Next item, motion to accept closure of alley at St. Paul's Lutheran Church on Ferry Street between 5th and 6th for their annual truck or treat on Sunday, October the 30th.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. McManus, second by Mr. Hall. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, adopt a proclamation observing the week of October the 3rd through the 7th as Illinois' Lawsuit Abuse Awareness Week. Moved by Mr. McManus,
Second.
second by Mr. Short. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Update on mass transit. Last Friday, I actually received a call from the mass transit folks that we've been dealing with since, we've had that process going on since 2015 in the industrial park for a depot in the industrial park. We actually went as far as we had resolutions, we had an ordinance drawn up. They are back in the process of moving forward with that. They actually had, according to the folks at the transit company, actually had a problem with some shifting of personnel and things like that, documents and things of that nature, but they're back on track. They do have a new director, I believe, and I talked to them again today. We sent them a copy of the resolution, and so we're hoping to be, they think within the next week or so they'll have some information that will probably maybe enable them to move forward with this project, and it is much needed here in the city. So as that comes in, we probably will have to have a Water, Light, Street Committee meeting, our industrial one, since it is going in the industrial park, to move forward with that, where we can set up a meeting for Mr. Abel and them to come in where we can get some agreements and get moving forward with that. Next item, motion to accept permit to install fiber optic cable with Clearwave Communications. We do have a representative here tonight from Clearwave. So,
I'll second that.
we have a motion by Mr. McManus, a second by Mr. Hall. Sir, do you have anything you'd like to address the council with?
No, sir, no.
Just get her over with. Okay, all right.
Mayor, what's that gonna contribute to the city of Metropolis?
Well, this is just a right-of-way permit, Mr.
Oh.
Barfield. Well, we don't charge anyone on right-of-way permits, okay? And by law, if we share our right-of-way with one utility, we have to share it with all to the extent of available space. So, I mean, they're going to provide service, they have contracts with 2 state offices at the present time that they're obligated to perform. And so, these right-of-way agreements were to enable them to use the right-of-ways, but protect us and our existing utilities within those right-of-ways from any damage, so we'd have an agreement to do that. But we have to share on the same basic terms. Now, if they were using our poles, we'd have a pole sharing agreement where they would contribute to the cost, but they're all underground. So, we've not typically charged anyone historically for underground. There are some services that pay us, but they pay us on a basis of revenue, because that's provided by statute, like Comcast pays us a franchise fee, okay, based on revenue. Certain telecommunication providers pay you based on a telecommunication type tax that's imposed against all of them, but nobody really pays us for a right-of-way. So,
And these will all be board.
these will all be board. This is similar to what you approved last month for Waterway Ag to
Right,
run a
right.
pipe underground.
That's for someone in Metropolis, I mean, who's gonna benefit from this? That's
Well,
what I'm trying to get at.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. Right now, they're running it to, I mean, and the gentleman may be able to answer better, but they've made us aware, they're running it to the Department of Human Services, what we used to call the Public Aid Office, and they're running it to the driver's license place. So those places will have fiber optic available to provide their online services to the general public. And
But
that's
no private individuals in.
At this point, I don't know that they have any private customers. Do you know, sir?
At this point, these are the only 2 customers that.
Anything in the future?
What are some of your benefits that you offer?
Well, we have a fiber optic network that goes throughout the southern 23 counties of southern Illinois, so it's a redundant network. It increases the bandwidth to the state agencies that we're going to, and we go to several, so it allows them to have connectivity, and ultimately,
Sir, were you here a couple of years ago with the same situation?
not 2 years ago. no.
A year ago, whatever it was, by the time, it's a little different than yours probably. Someone was here that gave a presentation.
It would have been, the only other time I think we were here, would have been 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, time flies, okay, thank you.
So are you intending to compete with Comcast or satellite TV, or what are y'all, what's your plans? I mean, just those 2 things is not enough to,
Well, we're strictly an internet service provider. We provide data and voice service. We're a telecommunications company. We haven't actively marketed in Metropolis up to this point because we have not had a right-of-way agreement in the city. Any future customers that we did contract with, and we strictly, so far, have just gone commercial, so it would be for businesses. We would use the agreement, but go through the permitting process and make sure we coordinate it with the city to use, so we're not disrupting anything.
They are limited to only the right-of-ways that we've, in the specific areas that they've detailed for us in their plan, which is basically,
Yeah.
they come in 45, and we'll hit the driver's license place. They are gonna go up John Street, I think, towards the hospital. They don't have the hospital as a client, but they may have approached them. They're gonna come in, I think, off of, what's the road that goes by the high school?
Old Marion.
Old Marion Road, come across Massac Creek and bore under Metropolis Street to hit to the public aid office is what they'll do. So those are the only 2 areas that we have that they've gotten permits for.
And this
If they went
right-of-way,
to go anywhere else, they would have to come back to you and
They
seek
gotta come
permits
back.
again.
Well, also read in your, is there a packet that, that could go feet. That's quite a depth to be going down.
They'll have to bore, they'll have to bore at least, I think it's, now, hang on, what did I read? All right, Mr. Barfield, hang on a second. I asked it's gotta be a minimum of 18 inches from all water lines and, 24 inches from all other existing pipelines. But, they've assured us no matter how deep our stuff is, they can bore deeper than that, so
No problem then.
that's what they say, we'll see.
What about damages? Are they?
They are liable for the damages if they cause any damages, and they have to repair the surface if they do any damage to the surface. With the same type, if they do any damage to the, streets and all, everything has to be repaired with like materials and like, and it has to be done to the satisfaction of our engineers as well
Amen.
as our.
All right, all right.
All right,
Thank
we do have a motion, we do have a second, any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
I don't care for it, but I'll vote for it.
Okay. Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Under the mayor's report, I believe that's, everything. Next item, corporate council report.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packets, I put an ordinance to approve our collective bargaining agreement with Local 318, that's our operating engineers that represent our public works. If you have questions or you want to go over anything, we can hold this off and have a closed session, but we've essentially approved you've given us approval to go forward with the major terms. They approved the terms earlier. They're reviewing the language right now, so, I mean, I'm willing to do whatever your pleasure is. But if you had questions on any part, I could answer them now, or we could do them in closed session, whatever your preference would be.
It's all public anyway, if you have any questions.
At this point, each side knows what they've pretty well put out here, so it's not that big a deal. If you have a question, I'd be glad to answer.
Have they agreed to everything?
They agreed to all the terms, yes. Right now, all we were doing was trying to get the language finalized. Give you an example, I used a term in here, I'd sent them a draft earlier, and I used a term about transfer. Because if you notice, for the first time, we've got a training wage in here, and it applies to people that, not only new hires, but people that can move from one department to the next. And I'd use the term transfer. Well, when you're in the union, you actually bid out of a position into another position. They were more comfortable with that. So that's the kind of language we've been just going over and swapping back and forth with.
I make a motion, we ratify this pending the language.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. McGuire and second by Mr. McManus. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
It's 2016-19, sorry. 19.
And understand, if something big or substantive would change, I'll bring it back to
Bring
you.
it back.
We'll just come back and let you.
It's not just-
Most of it's minor stuff.
I can see a transfer, because you could transfer them to a thing, and they'd have to go by the same thing, so I would see what they're saying.
Bid out, they're comfortable with that, and I'm okay with that, that's fine. It wouldn't bother me.
Yes.
Barfield.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next thing I had, I gave you guys a memo, last meeting or so, I'd just gotten a thing from a fellow at the IMEA about Ameren's rates. And, you asked if I could draw a comparison from theirs to ours. And, so I did, side by side. At the time, I felt like we'd be cheaper, and as it turned out, we were cheaper. And the type of customer this usage represents is somebody like we would have in a lot of our wards, which is a small house with one or two residents, your retired couples or your widower type folks that sometimes are the hardest hit when it comes to our utility rates. And we're cheaper in that regard. And that's something you guys ought to be proud of. You've done it. It's something you ought to share with folks. The other interesting thing about that is not only are we cheaper, now we're not a huge amount cheaper, and we've always said we won't be always the lowest, and we won't be the highest, we'll always be somewhere in between, and we'll tend to be steady and stable. But if we think about it, there were a number of people a few years ago that were saying, well, we ought to be out of the IMU, we ought to get out of it, go back to somebody else. Well, somebody else is Ameren, folks. That's your other alternative. So you're cheaper than Ameren, and when you think about it, how long does it take Ameren to get here to fix an outage? It takes them hours. We get outages fixed in minutes. So you've got a system that you've devoted a lot of money to, you've devoted a lot of time to, and you ought to be proud of it. And I think if nothing else, this illustrates that. The other thing was, a question came up, some people were talking about we'd raised water and sewer rates. Well, I went and checked, and no, as a matter of fact, we've not raised water or sewer rates since 2013 and 2014. Water ended, the rates increases in water ended in 2013. The rate increases for sewer ended in 2014. So there's not been any increases in now 2 years or 3 years. Other thing that we were hearing is that we raised electric rates in August and September to cover our costs from the tornado. No, we didn't raise the rates at all. That didn't happen either. There was no increase in rates, okay? We paid for the tornado damage strictly out of our electric fund. We have funds on hand in the electric fund for that very purpose. And that's, again, that's a tribute to you guys that you run this system soundly. The law says we will impose rates that will cover our costs of operation, our maintenance, our depreciation, and enough for a reserve. And that's what you do in all your utilities now. You no longer subsidize them. So you need to be proud of that. As aldermen, you need to be proud of that. You've done a fine job. And so, but hopefully, hopefully this will give you some ammunition. You can share, say, look, we are cheaper. We improve it. We've got an, and if you need the bill, I'll give you the customer's bill. We got it. One of the things that they do that would impact our little old men, little old ladies, if we had it, is they impose a meter fee and a facilities charge. It's a fixed charge. So in the end, that bumps their cost up substantially. They may not use a lot of kilowatts, but they're getting it back, kind of like this charge at Liberty's imposed. Ameren does the same thing on the electric side. And that was one of the things I noticed when I read the actual bills that hit these people the hardest is that they use a meter fee and a facilities charge. So just wanted you to have that stuff. I know sometimes it's easy. None of us like high bills. It's been hot. We all have high bills when it's hot, but Lord knows it could be a lot worse because we aren't Paducah, we aren't Ameren, and we aren't co-op. So, last thing I was going to mention, I did go to the Illinois Municipal League Conference last week, and just want to thank you for letting me do that, and give me the opportunity to do that. I really hope in the future some of you will take that chance and do that, take an opportunity. It's really exciting, it's really interesting. Not every session, there's a lot of there's some boring ones, but there's a lot of good meat and potatoes stuff for aldermen, for department heads. Most of the towns that were there had their department heads with them, they had their aldermen, the mayors, they went in groups of, most towns had 5 or 6 people there, frankly, that were there. There's good sessions for your people that handle payroll, that handle water and sewer. They had a bunch of sessions on water, a bunch of sessions on your economic development for downtown. One thing I learned was that U of I extension centers, like we got here where Tammy Overmark runs, they've got a program for revitalizing downtowns. I didn't know that. We've never actually asked her, and we need to ask her and get her involved in some of our efforts that we're doing. Because they can bring some resources to that. Just something I didn't realize. There's a lot of little things like that you pick up when you go to this. So, again, thank you for the opportunity to go to that. I do appreciate it. And it was
Good
a
job.
good time. That's all I have.
Next item. Tourism. Ms. Steckenrider.
Hello. Where are you going here? Just wanted to let you guys know, as most of you probably already know, we've got encampment coming up. October 15th and 16th, we've got schools coming in on the 14th. So it will be a busy day on the 14th, but I do encourage you guys, if you want to come out on the 14th, just call me and let me know. It's it's a pretty neat day to see all the schools from the entire area coming out. We will start our day at 4 a.m. that day with Channel 3 there, so that was confirmed. So if you don't come out, you can watch us that morning. We'll be starting the encampment very early, as always. And then the other thing that we are really working on and focusing in on is the eclipse. It's a little less than a year away, but as most of you have probably seen and heard, we are right in the epicenter for viewing that. So I'm in the process of putting together a committee of city, county, and other stakeholders that this is gonna directly impact so that we can plan this effectively and get the most bang for our buck, per se, on this event. So that's some things that we've got going on right now, but I am knee-deep in Indians and British and Scottish soldiers as we speak. But this is one of our biggest events, is the encampment. Last year it was estimated to bring in over 200,000 people to Metropolis, so it's a pretty big deal. So we haven't taken a draw from the hotel motel tax since prior to Superman celebration, so we've paid off all of our summer bills, and now with the new ordinance in place that allocates 95% of the hotel motel tax to the CVB, what I have proposed here that I gave you all this evening is just, I'm all about making the process simple, so that you guys don't have to see me stand up here 4 times a year. But if it's fine with you guys, if we can go off of this withdrawal request, I would just write a letter to the city on these dates and request this amount. The budget that I gave to you all in July was for what we estimated, what Trish told me was gonna be $500,000. With the new ordinance, we are now only allocated 95% rather than the 100% of hotel motel tax, so I dropped that down to $475. So that's 4 equal installments of the $118,750. And that would come out, first request would be today, then the next one, December 26th, March 27th, and then June 26th. But that is what I'm here for today. Any questions, concerns, comments?
I'll make a motion to allocate the funds.
I'll second the motion.
You'll have to adjust it on the back end.
What if the money's not in the account? Typically, if you look at historical, it's gonna leave the money in the account, to offset that 5%. That's why I adjusted it down. Like right now, there's more than the 118,000. We're closer to the second, quarter should start coming in, so it really should be, here in the next couple months, it should start pushing 250,000. So I'm just gonna take, 118 out of it right now. As of last month, it had almost 122,000 sitting in it, so it'll leave that 5% sitting in there.
We do have a motion, we do have a second. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just moving right on along. We'll just go in order in the back. Mr. Harry,
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Morris,
Nothing other than Fire Prevention Week's coming up, October 9th through the 15th. So with the one school holiday, we'll start going next week to the schools and take about better part of 2 weeks to hit them all, but we'll be hitting every school in the county all the way up, with the exception of the high school. So,
Frank,
Nothing at this time there.
Miss Abel,
I'd just like to thank the city for putting forth the money to help with the lockdown devices for the schools. I think that's great. I don't have any kids in the district anymore, doesn't matter. It's still a very important thing to do.
I agree 100%.
Did they get your roof fixed?
Not yet, about 2 more
Be
weeks
about 2
it'll be
more
there.
weeks.
But the cover that they had planned, they were hoping would fit, will fit, so that's a good thing.
Chad, you or Doug have anything?
I
did want to mention, we had a couple citizens complain about water pressure in the area. I've done some extensive testing since then. I've tested over 15 different homes before they complained, plus others in the area. They all came back with the same pressure reading of 50 pounds of pressure, which is standard not only for this community, but I've called other communities. And if anybody else has any other concern, a great way to address that would be to have their own water meter. And that way, we can test, make sure the city's providing what they're required to, and it's not lost somewhere in the homeowner's line. And that's the only recommendation I could really come up with out of that. Was
Yeah, it is.
meter, we could probably fix it a lot faster.
And it usually works out a whole lot better if you'll address the engineers or the city. Facebook doesn't make a difference most time, you know. So we do have engineers on staff that are very capable, dedicated, and do a great job when a complaint comes in. But social media is not the place to put those complaints.
I'm usually walking around there somewhere. If you
All right.
grab my ear, I'll try to fix it.
Anything else? I think, old business. New business.
Jerry, you want to borrow Chuck's gun?
I've got something that could fall under either one of them, I guess, here. A while back, I kind of made the comment that I didn't think I was gonna run for office. Since then, my employer has deemed fit for me to have an early retirement. And I'm gonna have all the time in the world that I'm gonna run. Have time to devote to it. That's one thing that bothered me, working, I didn't have time to be in the loop all the time.
Any other thing under new business? Miscellaneous reports.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion for financial.
Famous finance, yes.
Yeah, payment of salaries,
Salary,
payroll, and
payroll.
contract fees. Mr. Barfield? And Mr. McManus? Call a roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Payment of miscellaneous bills.
So moved.
I'll
Second.
say.
Just reversed
Well,
it.
when we get this point, we're.
They're done.
Get the foot down.
Call a roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell. And Short.
Yes. I can almost feel, see that snake.
Here, Billy, I'd be afraid that's very close.
Smell it, baby.
At the reminders at the bottom of your page, there is several items there. Right now, I don't think we have a need for a committee meeting this week. Mr. Abel is working on several ordinances, but we want to give him time to do what he needs to do and get those up. So at the earliest, we probably will be having any meetings. We have one for Harry
Frankie's funny, says.
on the 5th.
Frank always needs one.
We're looking at the 5th. I've already talked to Frank. Frank will just have to wait till the 5th.
I need one on Comcast, too. Well, as soon as we can arrange it probably, I mean, something like that, we've gotten to the franchise agreement to the point that you guys need to look at it, and we need to have them here and make them go over it with me.
Well, the 5th would be a week from Wednesday. Now, we can have one later in the week. If we have to, I can put one out there, Thursday, we could have it out, it'd be Thursday.
We need to make sure they come down from Indianapolis, so
Okay.
if we put it
So-
out, but it'll be easier to make sure that.
Let's just say right now, we're going to have at least a water, light, and street, an ordinance, a police and fire, and I think that's probably all. But we can always add them on there, so that would be, on the 5th is on a Wednesday. And that would be, now this may not be the right order. Water, light, and street, police, and fire, and ordinance. We'll wait and see what comes out by the time Doug and Chad gets what they need on the water, light, and street. And Frank will have have some things. Harry's is just like one item or something like that. And the ordinance will be, we may get the other two and then save the last for the
1
ordinance.
o'clock.
We should be 1 o'clock, yeah. All right, now, and I'll, in the agenda, I'll put out the so that would be October the 5th, which is on a Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. If there's nothing else for the good of the cause, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
second.
Lot of seconds.
4 o'clock? Okay, all right. May have to knock on my door, but it's all right. I'll put it on there, I'll try to bring it
Call
tomorrow.
the roll, please.
Yeah, and I'll get you out.
Barfield.
Yes.
Hall.
Okay.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell. And Shorter.
Yes.
Oh, and
Thank you,
the,
gentlemen.
where you don't
Well, see,
forget the
I guess he's
stakeout
gonna
tomorrow,
cook
is
steak.
tomorrow at 6.
Tomorrow, that's fine.
Tomorrow at 6.
Yeah, so I'll have to get the meeting over with, so I can get down there.
I was gonna say, I told him we couldn't.
The coals will all be gone and the steak will be cold. All right, thank you.